In China's Inner Mongolia, the Dao Banner region was ground zero for this environmental catastrophe. Farmers watched their crops wither, their soil erode, and their futures slip away like sand through their fingers. But this isn't a story of despair. It's a story of human ingenuity, of a bold experiment that turned barren wastelands into thriving ecosystems. And of an unexpected ally in the fight to reclaim the earth: rabbits. Picture a small village in Dad Banner where the sun beats down on cracked earth and the air is thick with dust. Families here once grew wheat and millet, but the desert's advance had buried their fields. By the early 2000s, the situation was dire. Traditional methods like planting rows of trees to block sand dunes weren't working. The Gobi's harsh climate, 194 mm of rain annually, barely enough to sustain life, meant most trees died within years. The soil stripped of nutrients couldn't support them. Overgrazing by livestock and unsustainable farming had left the land vulnerable, and wind erosion carried away what little topsoil remained. Dust storms born in the Gobi swept as far as Beijing, even reaching Japan and Korea in 1983, blanketing cities in choking haze. The Chinese government knew something drastic was needed, not just for Dead Banner, but for the nation and the world watching. Enter the Dao Banner Desert Reclamation Initiative, a project that didn't just aim to stop the desert, but to rewrite its story. Launched in the early 2000s, this wasn't your typical tree planting campaign. The Chinese team, blending ancient ecological wisdom with cutting-edge technology, crafted a multi-pronged strategy. They used satellite imagery, drones, and remote sensing to monitor soil conditions and water levels in real time. Instead of planting non-native trees that struggled in the arid climate, they introduced hardy native plant shrubs like saxel and grasses like Mongolian wheatgrass that could thrive in the Gobi's unforgiving conditions. These plants weren't just chosen for their resilience. They were ecosystem engineers, anchoring soil, reducing wind erosion, and creating microclimates where other species could take root. But the real magic happened beneath the surface. The team tackled the root of desertification: degraded soil. They spread biomulching layers of organic matter like straw and compost across the land. This wasn't just a blanket to keep the soil in place. It trapped moisture, shielded the ground from wind, and slowly rebuilt fertility. Imagine spreading a protective quilt over the desert, giving it a chance to heal. They also dug trenches to capture what little rain fell, channeling it to plant roots. Windbreak planting came next, rows of shrubs strategically placed to slow the desert's relentless winds, preventing sand from burying new growth. These weren't quick fixes, but a holistic plan to revive an entire ecosystem. Now, let's address the elephant, or rather the rabbit, in the room. Whispers of 1 million rabbits released into the desert have sparked curiosity and skepticism. Did China really relocate 1 million furry creatures to the Gobi? The truth is more grounded, but no less fascinating. As part of the Day Banner project, ecologists experimented with controlled animal integration. Rabbits, specifically native species like the Tlai hare, were introduced in small managed populations, not millions, but thousands. Why? Their burrowing habits aerate the soil, breaking up hard compacted earth and allowing water and nutrients to penetrate deeper. Their droppings, rich in nitrogen, act as natural fertilizer, boosting soil health. Unlike overgrazing livestock which had devastated the region, these small herbivores were carefully monitored to prevent ecological imbalance. Think of them as tiny gardeners, tilling the earth and enriching it with every hop. By 2010, the results were staggering. Over 15,000 hectares of barren desert had transformed into green, fertile land. Native plants flourished, their roots knitting the soil together. Groundwater levels stabilized and small streams, long dry, began to flow again. Farmers who had abandoned their fields returned, planting crops like alfalfa and corn in soil that was no longer a dusty graveyard. The project didn't just restore land. It revived communities. Poverty rates dropped as agriculture became viable again and migration slowed as families saw a future in their homeland. The Dalo banner became a beacon of hope, proving that deserts could be tamed, and not with brute force but with science, patience, and respect for nature. The world took notice. In 2014, the project expanded, becoming a global case study for sustainable desert reclamation. Countries like Senegal, Ethiopia, and Jordan, grappling with their own desertification crisis, sent delegations to learn from Dalabana. The African Union's Great Green Wall, an ambitious plan to create a 100 million hectare green corridor across the Sahel by 2030, drew direct inspiration. Like Dale Banner, it emphasizes native species, soil restoration, and community involvement over simplistic tree planting. The ripple effect was undeniable. A single project in a remote corner of China sparked a global movement to reclaim lost ecosystems. But why did China take such bold steps? The stakes were existential. Desertification wasn't just an environmental issue. It threatened food security, displaced millions, and fueled economic instability. By the 1980s, the Gobi's expansion was swallowing 3,600 kilometers of land annually, burying villages, and choking cities with dust. Beijing's air quality suffered as sandstorms became a seasonal nightmare. The government's early attempts, like the Green Great Wall of the 1980s, planted millions of trees across northern China, but high mortality rates, some estimates suggest 60 to 75% of trees died, showed the limits of one-size-fits-all solutions. Dead Banner's success came from learning those lessons, embracing complexity, and thinking long-term. The rabbit experiment, though small, added a layer of intrigue. Ecologists didn't just release animals and hope for the best. They studied the tolly hare's behavior, ensuring their burrows didn't destabilize fragile dunes or compete with native plants. The hares were part of a broader strategy to mimic natural ecosystems where animals, plants, and soil work in harmony. Picture a desert coming alive, grasses swaying, hares darting between shrubs, and farmers tending fields where only sand once stood. It's a scene that feels almost cinematic. Yet, it's real, a testament to what happens when innovation meets determination. This story resonates because it's not just about a desert in China. Desertification threatens every continent. In Africa, the Sahel's creeping sands displace millions. In the Americas, parts of the Southwest face similar challenges. Globally, 2 billion people live in dry lands at risk of becoming deserts. The Dowlad Banner Project offers a blueprint. Don't fight nature. Work with it. Use technology to understand the land. Choose plants that belong and involve communities who know it best. The project's success wasn't just in the 15,000 hectares restored, but in the mindset it inspired, a belief that even the most barren places can be reborn. Let's zoom out to the human side. In Dale Banner, families who once faced starvation now harvest crops. Children who might have left the city stay to farm alongside their parents. The project employed thousands, from drone operators to local planters, creating jobs and pride. Women, often the backbone of rural communities, led planting cooperatives, turning ecological restoration into a social movement. One farmer, Li Mei, shared her story in a 2015 documentary, "We thought the desert had won. Now my daughter plants seeds where I once saw only sand." These stories ground the project's impact, showing it's not just about soil and plants but about people reclaiming their future. The rabbit angle, though exaggerated in some tellings, adds a spark of wonder. Imagine scientists debating whether a humble hare could help save a desert. It's quirky, yes, but it reflects the project's willingness to think outside the box. While the million rabbit claim is likely a myth, perhaps born from a viral post or a misreported study, the real use of animals like tola hares shows how even small creatures can play a role in big solutions. It's a reminder that nature's answers are often unexpected, like a hare's burrow sparking life in a wasteland. As we look to the future, The Dow Banner Project challenges us to rethink our approach to environmental crisis. Climate change, drought, and land degradation aren't abstract problems. They're threats to our food, water, and homes. Yet, this story shows we're not powerless. By 2025, the project has grown with plans to restore another 50,000 hectares by 2030. Its methods are being adapted in Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and beyond, proving that solutions can scale. The Great Green Wall in Africa, now covering 20 million hectares, owes part of its momentum to David Banner's example.